What's going on, everyone? In today's podcast interview, I'm extremely excited to bring to you Bob Books. So Bob is actually a reseller. She has two YouTube channels, one more for just general reselling, which is called Bob Buys, and the one that's called Bob's Books, which is specifically about eBay and WhatNot bookselling. She's actually going to be a speaker at the Books and Beyond Resellers Conference happening this September 13th through 15th in Las Vegas, Nevada. So I'm extremely excited that she's going to join a host of a bunch of other awesome speakers. And if you do have the opportunity to come, you can obviously pick her brain and go ahead and talk to her about WhatNot eBay bookseller. But before we get into that, what's going on, Bob?
I am excited to talk to you about books.
Okay, sounds good. I like to just give people a little bit of context about you. So can you just give people a little bit of information, like how long have you been selling books? And then when did you transition to WhatNot? Because I know you do sell eBay, and I know WhatNot's like a newer platform. So when did you make that transition? And then most of my audience are Amazon booksellers. So what generally, like briefly, like is exactly, WhatNot bookselling?
Oh, okay. So I have been reselling for about 6 years now. I've actually been reselling since I was little.
Cool.
Yes, I have been on eBay since 1996.
Whoa, wow, okay.
I started out when I was a little kid with Beanie Babies, but as far as books goes, this is Moxie. I transitioned to books, like selling more books about 3 years ago because I started really enjoying it. I did when I originally started reselling seriously 5 or 6 years ago to try to do Amazon FBA, and it did not work out for me. So I have nothing but mad respect for you and your people because that is hard. I've actually been selling on WhatNot since 2021. I was one of the earlier female users of the platform. And I was also, Matt over at Thrift of Life. Him and I were some of the bigger booksellers at the time. Of course, that category has exploded now, but our auctions were part of why that category was created on WhatNot. So,
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So I know that you sell books on both eBay and WhatNot. And generally in your reselling videos, you show comps, like eBay comps, like books that have sold on eBay. And I haven't really found much YouTube content specifically where like, hey, here's how much this book sold on WhatNot. But I know in your videos, you are like, hey, we're having a WhatNot live stream on this day. So can you just talk a little bit about like, how do you decide when you would sell a book on WhatNot versus eBay? Like what criteria goes into deciding which avenue it goes through?
That actually has a lot to do with my book channel. Me personally, I have a specialization between 1930s and 1980s genre fiction because at that point it is too recent for the antique dealers and it is too old for the Amazon FBA sellers because they don't have barcodes on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's genre fiction. So it's mostly science fiction, horror, and fantasy.
Okay.
And that is primarily what my book channel is about, is reading and reviewing those. And I have found a really good niche audience in there that are avid collectors. There's been a resurgence in vintage genre fiction on BookTube. And I have kind of just leveraged that into having very successful auctions. So when I'm sourcing all of my genre fiction that would fit into that category, almost all of it goes on to WhatNot first.
Okay.
And there are things that perform better on WhatNot than they do eBay. Like they would sell for less money on eBay, but they sell for more money on WhatNot because of that innate audience for that specific type of genre fiction. I'm so sorry.
Okay. No worries at all.
Whole time. So that is why I make that decision. And then stuff that doesn't sell on WhatNot, I can either flip it immediately to a buy, sell, trade bookstore, or I can sell it on eBay. All of the stuff would still be sellable on eBay. It's just I've found that certain things sell better on WhatNot.
For you, right? And can you talk a little bit about the pricing? Because what's interesting about being an Amazon seller is, and if you may or may not remember a software called Keepa. It's like a way to try to figure out the historical, value of a book. But, how do you decide like what to list a book at on WhatNot? Is it completely arbitrary? Is it just based upon your experience? Or do you actually like use any data to inform like, oh, this book's $3, this book's $5 or so on?
So I base it on my cost. Like how much did the book cost for me to buy so I can make a profit? I do know that there are some booksellers that they're pricing it at just a little bit under what they could get for it on other platforms, and
Okay.
they're still successful because they're like the rare, like very antique, vintage, like very rare books. But because Whatnot is a live selling auction platform, like the whole point is to get it bid up.
Okay.
So by starting it low at the lowest you're willing to do it, you can sometimes just accept that it's going to sell for that, or sometimes greatly exceed expectations. Like the last couple of Whatnots that I've been doing, I've included science fiction masterworks and golden age masterworks. They are specifically UK imports.
Oh, wow.
They're not as easy to get here. I mean, you can buy them on Amazon, but they're not as available.
Okay.
And so I've been getting them from a dealer for roughly around $5 a book, and I am immediately selling them on Whatnot for 20, like between
Whoa.
15 and $20. So to do a turnaround where it's like less than 2 days, getting that return has been amazing. And then I originally, when I started doing that, I was just selling those, doing specific Whatnot shows with those.
Okay.
And they performed so well that I was like, well, what happens if I just add them, like when the dealer allows me to like buy a box,
Okay.
add them to my regular like vintage stuff, and it has helped that sell as well too. So overall, it has improved everything. But yeah,
Wow.
it's very nice. I'm sure when you talked to Resell Maven, it's very nice to buy something that day and then to immediately have it gone.
Yeah, absolutely. Turning around the next day. I mean, with Amazon, it's not like that, right? You have to, I mean, if you're merchant fulfilling, I guess you can list it on Amazon and it's live pretty much immediately. But we do, I mean, I do Amazon FBA. You have to ship it to the warehouse and receive it. And it's like before it's
But
even
it's
live.
still not in your house, which is
I know.
great.
At the end of the day, and we'll talk about WhatNot death piles and eBay death piles a little late and how you deal with that. But really insightful. Now, a lot of people are going to ask if somebody wants to get into this, okay, where the heck do I find the inventory? So I've watched your videos, so I know where you get your inventory. But for people who don't know anything about you, where exactly are you getting your inventory? Is it library sales? Is it thrift stores? Is it specific thrift stores? Are you finding it, going to garage sales? How do you find most of your inventory?
Majority of my inventory recently has been from secondhand bookstores, a private dealer, as well as the bins, Goodwill bins. I do sometimes go to other thrift stores, the DAV thrift, so the DAV, Disabled American Veterans thrift stores. Some of them do have really good book sections, but mostly it's been the bins because since the beginning of this year, we went from having 3 bins of books to now there's normally 7 to 8 bins, and they're full. They're so full.
That's so many books to go through. Jeez.
Yeah, so when I'm going to the bins, I was going maybe once a week, and it's very rare that I come out with less than 100 books. So it's between 100 and 200 books every time I've gone, which is, as you talked about, going into the death pile. So
What's incredible is that the way I think about the Goodwill bins is like, it's like I hope this doesn't sound like a negative connotation, but it's like the graveyard for like, because I mean, we all know now that Goodwill has plenty of Amazon storefronts. So the majority of books that have value, on Amazon, Goodwill actually will scan, right? They'll use
mhm.
like Scout IQ, they'll scan them and they'll sell them themselves on Amazon. So what's cool is that these books that are kind of funneling their way through the Goodwill bins are sort of like rejects from even Goodwill or even their stores when they try to sell in person. Yet here you are pulling out like 100 books to sell on one now, which is pretty crazy. How much of your success is really niche and focusing? It has been, yeah, that sort of, process of really niching down and focusing on a specific genre. Like, is that your main competitive advantage there?
Yes, like it's about 75% of my book business is specifically in that niche. The other 25% is having specific book knowledge, like genre book knowledge,
Okay.
to where things are passed on by the Amazon FB sellers. I've actually had multiple books that are valued over $70 that an Amazon FB seller scanned. I actually have one right here because I
Nice.
have it because I kept it, like that scanned it and then put it to the side.
Interesting.
Because there are specific books, like most Amazon FBA sellers that I see, they just scan the barcode if it doesn't come up with the numbers that they need because you guys are so metrics based, which is amazing to run a business. But you don't flip the book over.
Yeah.
And there are alternative covers. There are signed books as well. There are first editions, and that makes a difference because a first edition is going to have the same barcode as like the 25th edition or the 100th edition.
Wow. Yeah.
But like This is one of those. This is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss.
Okay.
This is a modern fantasy book. So
Okay.
this was originally published in 2012. This is the first edition, and this is an alternative cover. This is the Green Man cover. And if I scan this on your Amazon FBA seller app, it's just going to come up with The Name of the Wind in a hardcover. That's it. That's all it's going to come up.
Oh my
This is
God.
a 70.
I could literally do it. Just keep holding it up right now. I'm literally just do the actually. I'll do the front cover because you
You
can
want to do the front cover?
yeah,
Okay.
have the front cover. I'm curious if scanning with the front cover will find the book, this exact book, because it may. But like you mentioned, most people would just scan the barcode because it is available. But no, you're right. It literally just came up. Let me see if I
Mhm.
can get close. That's just the generic book right there, right? And
Mhm.
it says lowest price is $1. It has a great sales rank, which means it sells a lot. But
Well, yeah,
continue on
because
what you're
this is
reading.
one of the most popular. This is the King Killer Chronicles trilogy that he hasn't finished. But this is the Green Man cover. The sells between $75 to $125. If you get the Fabio cover,
Another cover.
there's another alternative cover to the first edition. If you get the Fabio cover, that can be over $200,
Wow.
but it would just have the same barcode.
Yeah, that's crazy. So having that little extra knowledge,
Yes.
I mean, as you can see, it is incredible. Now, what is interesting is, so when you scan the barcode, normally there'll be like, usually it's just one listing that pops up. It's like,
Mhm.
hey, this ASIN's connected to this book. When you scan the image, usually, Amazon's like image search program will find maybe a few different listings. And so actually that book was found, but it's like the fifth one down, which nobody would look at. And there's let's see. There's the cover right there. I know it's hard to see. It's kind of blurry. But
Yeah.
what I want to note is it has no sales rank, which means it at least hasn't sold in the recent past. But there's two offers with the lowest offer being $500. So there you go. So I mean, on eBay, like you mentioned, that's probably the market like 75, right? That's what you're saying.
Yep. $75 to $125. So, but
Gee.
but I've had multiple books like that where I'm like, look, I see the Amazon FBA, pick it up, scan it, and I'm like, please put that down.
Yeah.
They put it down, immediately grab it, goes in my cart.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Oh my God.
But that's where, like, part of the reason why I've added books to my business and grown the book part of the business is because I love books. I love reading them. I've always loved them. And so it's basically turning something that I really love into a way that also makes me money. So
And, and it's always one thing that I've wondered. Almost every video I watch, you're like, oh, I'm going to read this book first, and then also I'm like, wow, when you have the time to do your business, it seems like you read every single book. And you're like, oh, this is a short book. It's like 150 pages, which it is a short book. But I mean, it's not a short book when you have like you're going to read every other book in the video, right? So how do you kind of navigate that? Sort of it's a hobby because I will say for me as well when I'm buying books on Amazon to flip on Amazon. Sometimes there are books I'm interested in, I'll buy for myself if they're flippable, and I'll read them as well. But how do you navigate that balance?
uh, for me, it is more of okay. That is the thing that I allow myself to hoard is books.
Yeah.
So I do also have the blessing of reading very quickly. I average between, depending on the density of the language of the book, between 60 to 80 pages an hour. So
Ooh,
it's more
okay.
than a page a minute. So when I say, this is only 120 pages, it's only 150 pages, that means it's like that's like 2 hours, less than 3 hours to read that. And a lot of the genre fiction I'm getting is small, but something like this took me about 9 hours to read, 9.5 hours to read. So it's just when I'm choosing to read stuff or keep it for myself to read, it's normally because it's rare.
Okay.
And I'm not going to be the likelihood of me coming across it again in the wild is very small. Or it is something that is not talked about on BookTube and that specific in genre level of BookTube. So I know that if it's rare, I haven't seen it very often, it's something that I'm actually interested in reading. If I talk about it and I enjoy it, chances are it'll be more valuable when I get to that book. So
Interesting.
it's also kind of a little bit of an investment as well, where it's not only am I investing into my own enjoyment of reading that book, but I'm investing in the future relationship to that book, maybe on eBay, because I've mentioned him earlier, and that's part of one of the things that I'm going to talk about at the convention is BookTube and Book Talk and how following specific creators in certain genres can make you a better bookseller because you're going to know what's trending as far as sales go, and you're going to know like, hey, this is a rare book. And this one particular booktuber just started reading it and talked about it. And now this book went from being like $12 on eBay to being over $100 on eBay. So
Whoa. Wow. That's
like,
incredible.
yeah. So that's why it's like I'm investing in myself because I'm like, I will get to this eventually. I want to keep it because it's beautiful and it's rare and I want to enjoy it. And then also it's like when I do get to this, it'll probably be more valuable by the time I get to it.
So cool. Now you mentioned, so if you're kind of just jumping around in the video, so, Bob is going to be a speaker at the Bookseller
Sorry.
Reseller Conference. No worries. This September 13th through 15th. I know that you've been to other conferences. I know you recently went to FlipCon, which is
Mhm.
a conference that Harry Tornado put on. He's a, eBay seller, really big YouTuber. I'm not sure how many people who watch my YouTube channel. I'm sure probably a lot of people do, but could you talk a little bit about like what was your motivation to go? Because I don't believe you're a speaker there, but I know you did go. What was your motivation to go there, and did you generally think it was worth it?
Josh asked me to go.
Oh, cool.
Jo- Josh just asked me to go. He asked me like because when he did it the first year, he asked if I was going to go, and I was like, "Hey, no, I'm already going to TwitchCon because I am a Twitch partner as well."
Awesome.
And I was like, "I really only have like the time to devote to doing one convention a year
Yeah.
currently," and so I was like, "Okay, I'm not going to go this year. I will go next year if you have it again." And then he's like, "Are you still going to go?" And then I had several of my followers ask if I was going to go. And I was like, "Okay, I guess I'll go." And also, it's within driving distance. So that's why I decided to go. It was like 5 hours away. So it was easy
Okay.
for me to get to.
Okay.
And if I was uncomfortable, I could just leave. But
Yeah.
Josh was lovely about it. Josh and Haley were both lovely and very good at accommodating my needs. So it was a great experience. I got to thrift in another area, which was super fun. There weren't very many books though, which
Oh,
made me sad. But it was interesting to see sourcing in other areas and opportunities, and there were all different kinds of sellers there. And it was really interesting to see other aspects of WhatNot because
okay.
WhatNot was one of the like sponsors and
Oh, cool.
people there to talk to. So I got to see a lot of live WhatNot auctions, like people who were actually at the bins doing WhatNot auctions at the bins, which I thought was really
Whoa.
neat.
That's
There's
cool.
actually one girl that does that at the Goodwill that I normally go to, too.
Should just do them at the Goodwill bins, just right
Mhm.
there.
Yep,
Wow.
right there. She spends like an hour shopping. She'll go in the corner because if the manager sees you, she will kick you out. But
Wow.
she has it like very sneaky set up in the corner and she does it. And yeah, I
And then
thought about it, but the internet's not good enough for me where I am.
so presumably anything that sells during the auction, she buys, and anything that doesn't
Yeah.
sell, she just
She
puts
throws
it
it
right
back.
in
It
the
goes right back in the
Oh
bag.
my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
Imagine one day someone teaches Goodwill to do just whatnot streams and Goodwill does it themselves.
I'm
That'd be
surprised though, because I mean they have eBay. They have
yeah.
eBay. They hire specifically people to pull stuff to go onto eBay. Maybe they're just like,
It might just be there's just so many books, right? On Amazon, there's over 100 million titles listed. So it could just be that it's impossible to catch everything.
oh yeah, that's one of the things that when you were talking about with Goodwill about they didn't sell originally in the store, but they're going to sell them on in the bins. The Goodwills in my area have very small sections.
Interesting.
So a
Okay.
lot of the books that they get actually go directly to the outlet.
Wow. Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's part of why that the bins have increased is because they've shrunk their actual book sections in the
Gotcha.
store. And
Yeah.
so a lot of those are fresh donations. They're not
Okay.
rejects from the store.
From the store.
Yeah.
But they must still be scanned, right? When you think they're still scanned to be sold on Amazon, or you think they're just directly just sending them there without being scanned at all?
I mean, I'm guessing they're just sending them there because of the
Okay.
fact the number of Amazon FBA sellers that come away with full
Okay.
carts
Oh,
at
wow.
bins as well. So,
Okay,
I
I
mean,
see.
there's at least 2 or 3 that I see every time I go in there. They come in
Okay.
and they have carts and then they leave. So,
Okay.
they're never empty carts that I see. So,
Yeah. What I find so fascinating about, the specialized knowledge is that I feel like I have specialized knowledge in reading data, right? Which is, I tell my audience all the time, like, I buy books, but in reality, I'm buying data. Like, I'm looking at looking at a graph, looking at historical data, and going, "Oh, hey, here's a book on Amazon that's I can buy for $15 that normally sells for 50." And I'm using that data as a way, that specialized knowledge of looking at graphs and data to say, "Hey, I should buy this book to resell it." But I mean, you just showed us that when you're at the Goodwill bins, it's not like you're sitting there using a scanner app like Scout IQ or Scoutly to say, accept this book or, reject this book or so on. It literally is just by gut feeling and also your specialized knowledge, right? So, I mean, one of the reasons why I really was excited for this interview was because I really do believe there's so much opportunity selling books on Amazon because, I could probably show you a bunch of books here and, maybe we should do that. Like,
I would love a show and tell because like I said, I don't use the app like that. And I've tried Amazon FBA when I first started and I did not do well.
Okay. Yeah.
But I don't think you guys existed yet. So maybe that's why.
Maybe. So how about this? I'll show you a few books. We can play a game. We'll call it Pick or Pass. I actually did this with Amanda, Resell Maven, in our
I
last
would
interview as well.
love to do that.
Pick or Pass. We'll say, what do you normally pay for books? 50. I think it's like 50 cents soft cover, right? Or
It's 25 cents soft cover, 50 cents hardcover.
okay, we'll play by those rules, and then you can tell me if you're going to pick it or pass it, and then what avenue, what not. I mean, I should say I probably don't have any of your genre here. And it's interesting because I think you and Amanda definitely sell different types. You definitely sell different
Yes,
types.
we do. She sells a lot more children's
Books.
Yeah.
For example, like this book, I'm assuming you'd pass on that. If you wouldn't look. Yeah.
And I would actually look at it and see if my friend has I would maybe for personal, but not for reselling.
Oh, okay. I believe yes on that book.
Yeah, I would pass on that. I don't really do a whole lot of kids' books.
So even within the WhatNot community, you have two people going, no, or yes, I'll go ahead and write it. Okay, what about a book like this? Eat plants, feel whole.
Turn it around. That's probably a yes, just because it's vegan.
Okay.
And I do a lot of cookbooks. And so if I found a lot of them, like I do the like 1930s, 1980s. So it doesn't have a barcode. But if it's a specialized doctor or vegan, like any of those vegan people really love being vegan. So I would probably actually pick that up and scan it and figure out if it's worth reselling. But yeah, I would probably pick that up if the numbers told me yes.
And you would scan it on eBay?
I would scan it on eBay.
Okay, and you look at sold completed listings, I'm assuming. Or do you look at just live listings?
Yes.
Just live listings?
Yes. No, the answer is yes to both of those.
Okay, both. Yes. Okay. Now this one, and again, I know pretty much nothing about the books that I'm buying. Because again, it doesn't matter. It's all about what is the book historically sold for versus...
Right. You're looking at the numbers.
Yeah. And I hope you don't feel like I'm just this mean person like that doesn't care about books. Actually, really do.
You're running a business. I don't get that vibe at all. You're running a business and you're running a business that just happens to be about books.
Right. But I do actually enjoy books. I do read books, although definitely not as much fiction as you do. But this book might be more interesting to you. What about this?
I would absolutely pick that up immediately. That's an immediate sell on WhatNot.
Okay. And what would something like this go for? Like,
who I have in the auction. What edition is it? Can you go inside?
Okay. So this is something that
has a blue text block. It has a really interesting cover. That probably looks like it's from the 70s.
Slaughterhouse 5.
Oh yeah. No, I would absolutely pick that up. That's an early 70s edition, I'm guessing, if you go back from the title page. Yeah, I would immediately pick that up.
Okay, it says 95 cents on the top right. So
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, there you go. It's 1959, I believe.
Oh yeah, but that's like a 1960s, 1970s color. If you look down there at the bottom, it has edition.
It says
printing.
It says first printing January 1970. Yeah, and then it goes all the way up to the 5th printing.
Yep. So it's the mid 70s, right?
Mid 70s, yeah.
Yeah.
Or early 70s. So
yeah, I can tell looking at the cover, that's a 70s cover. It's a Kurt Vonnegut. It's one of his most well-known books. It also has the blue text block around it because it's Adele. So
what does that mean, a blue text block?
So if you look at the side where the pages are,
yeah,
that's a text block.
Okay. Oh, this is called the text block right here.
That's called a text block, yes. So it has a blue text block. It has a blue text block. So most of the color text blocks are from 40s, 50s, 60s. They kind of stopped doing them in the 80s. So that kind of like narrows me into that's a mid-century book.
Okay.
Except they're more modern printings now, like a lot of YA fiction now are doing colored text blocks and special editions, which makes them more valuable as well. But yeah, that would be, depending on who it is, if they have that specific set, because there's a lot of those vintage Kurt Vonnegut books normally printed all with the same vibe. So if someone's collecting that specific vibe, that might be it. But because that's one of the most like well-known science fiction novels by Kurt Vonnegut, that's one of his only science fiction novels, that would probably be like 5 to 10 If Matt's selling it from Thrift to Life, it'd probably be 25 to 35 because it's Matt. But
Interesting.
yeah,
The Sirens of the Titan. Yeah, I'm actually trying to look at it, the actual listing on Amazon. So what's interesting is that the listing that I purchased it on actually has a different cover picture, like you mentioned. So it actually doesn't look like this, and maybe that's why this was a return. So maybe that's the reason why I got returned.
that's actually why I got returned. But
Yeah.
I would absolutely sell that on WhatNot super fast.
Okay. Okay. How about this? I'll just send this to you as a gift because it was recently your birthday, right? So I'll send this to you as a birthday.
Oh, you don't have to send me for that. I have the SF Masterworks. I actually have received about 4 copies of the SF Masterworks from people who are like, you need to read this book. You need to read this book. So
Okay. We'll do that. We'll figure that out. It'll be a thanks for coming on the channel and giving.
You're sweet.
But I did sell this for $50, and I bought it on Amazon for like $12. It like dropped in price, and
Really?
yeah. So I was
What
able.
cover were you selling it on Amazon for that they returned it because it was a different cover?
I'll show you right now. How about that?
I would love that. I would absolutely love to see what cover it is.
Yeah, let me show you right now, and I'll go and share my screen so you can see this. Here we go. Screen share. This is exciting. Okay, so here we go. Sirens of Titan.
Oh, that's why. Yeah, that's one of the pulps. That's exactly why.
What does that mean? It's one of the pulps. I'm sorry. Here's my ignorance.
That's the pulp printing of Dell. So that would be an actual 1959 edition of the book. The reason why it's called a pulp is because the writing is like pulp fiction. Have you seen that movie?
I've not.
Very like actiony, very like fast paced. Also, it's because they would turn to pulp after a lot of readings and use because they were printed on very cheap paper. They were meant to be like picked up, put in your back pocket, take it around to read, quick, easy, like read, and then like discard it.
Okay.
So
clearly it's still here. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's not a pulp printing though. What you have in your hand is not a pulp printing. The reason why that one sold for more is because it's one of the earlier pulp editions.
Gotcha.
And it has the full cover graphic.
Okay, I see. And so for this one, you said you would start the auction. I know you said depending on who's there, but you would start.
I mean, I would start the auction at $2. I'm just saying it would probably sell between 5 to 10 for me, but I do know other WhatNot sellers that could get more for it. It's because of their innate audience that's on the site is bigger than mine.
That's incredible though. So that your audience knows their stuff, right? Because if it were me, I'd be like, I have no idea if that book's worth anything, right? I don't know if it's worth $100 or worth $1, but clearly, your audience knows that. So that's one. So that's a no-brainer pickup.
That is a no-brainer. That would have been like excited, throw in the cart.
By the way, no barcode, everyone. Obviously pre-ISBN.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what about this pick or pass? It's right here.
Oh, that's manga. Yes, absolutely pick that up.
Any type of manga?
As long as it's not trashed, yes. Almost all manga. I've made good money off of manga, like especially the older editions that aren't in print anymore.
And generally, you would start the auction at $1, $2.
Those go on eBay.
Oh, those go on eBay. Okay. And it's okay even if you don't have, because I know manga normally has like a lot of books, right? So usually a big book set. So it's okay just selling like a single volume 12.
I do singles all the time. Like if it's newer, it's going to sell for roughly about what you could buy it on Amazon for, but it's still going to sell. And then if it's an older copy, I mean, I recently sold like a volume of Samurai that I found. I paid $1 for it at the Restore and it sold for 20 very quickly. So, but that's an older out of print manga. So,
okay, cool. Next book, pick or pass.
Dinosaurs. Yes, I'll pick that up.
An alternative evolution.
No, it's dinosaurs.
Is that anything that even what if it's children's though?
It depends.
Okay.
Everybody loves dinosaurs. Unless you don't believe they're real.
Yeah. This one is definitely not like a necessarily children's book, but it is pretty fascinating. So, and then what would something like that start at for an auction?
I would start at $2. Most of my paperbacks will start at $2.
$2. Yes.
And then wherever they end up is good. But I mean, I would buy that for 25 cents and it would be an immediate sale.
Right. And I think that's the cool thing is the margins on books are incredible. Like I tell people on my channel all the time, the reason why I've always stuck with books and not, let's say, moved on to other categories, because people always ask, Joji, how come you don't move on to traditional online arbitrage or wholesale? It's just, for me, it's just the margins are incredible. And in this case, your margins are insane. I mean, you're buying the book for 25 cents or 50 cents. Even if the book doesn't sell and you do have to donate it, it's not like it's really not a hit at all. But what sort of range would you say generally most books fall into? Like the average book on a WhatNot show, is it going to end up at $4 plus shipping? Like, what is that range going to look like?
It depends on if I add. Currently, if I'm adding the Science Fiction Masterworks, my average sale price is like $10
Okay.
because I have the vintage and I have that. If I'm doing a vintage, so it depends on what the books are. That's like between $5 and $10 at that point. Some of them are more, some of them are less. Again, like I said, it just depends on, did somebody on BookTube review it recently and said it was really good?
Yeah.
It's a book that I've read personally and I can speak to it. Basically, like, here's the premise of the book. I mean, I've upsold books doing that more than once because it's something I've read. So that's
Yeah.
what these are. These are all books. All
I
these
know.
tattoos are books.
Didn't you say you're trying to go all the way up? Or are you trying?
Yes, COVID happened, and then my artist after COVID retired because he had
Oh,
degenerative illness. So I have to
no.
find a new one to finish it. But yes, they're all books.
Wow. That's really cool. Let's go on to the next book here.
Yes, please.
Hardcover.
That I would pick up and I would scan it. Depending on the sales rate, I would just flip it to Second and Charles.
Okay. Oh, really? You can flip. So and how much would Second and Charles give you for a book? Like,
I have no idea. They don't tell me. It just
you just show up with the book.
No, I show up with so when I go to the bins, I source a third of the books are roughly books that go on WhatNot. A third of the books are stuff I list on eBay, and a third of the books I flip immediately to Second and Charles.
Wow. Okay,
But I realized, yeah, and then what I do is I use the store credit I get from Second and Charles, which is normally between they normally give me 3 to 5x whatever I originally paid for it, and I use that to buy books from Second and Charles to flip on the other 2 platforms.
Yeah. Incredibly smart. That's awesome. But then again, no data to...
They give me nothing. They give me absolutely nothing. They're like, we're going to give you this amount of money. And I'm like, well, that is 3 to 5 times or more when I paid for it. I already have been in the store. I know what I'm going to spend it on. Perfect. I'm good to go.
Now, obviously, this book or like newer modern books will have like the... hopefully
barcode.
Well, above that, they'll have the pricing, right? The suggested MSRP. So for the books that are, let's say, more modern, do you take that into account? Like if you see a book that says $9.99, you're just like, what's the point? Like just discard it?
No, I don't discard it because again, that Patrick Rothfuss book says it's $29.95. I don't pay attention to those numbers at all because I mean, I sell a lot of vintage fiction. So I sold that pulp book that you just showed that you had returned, like the pulp edition, that 1959 edition. Yeah, I originally sold for 99 cents. The pulp edition you showed, I think, was like 29 cents or 39 cents.
Let's see what it says.
It was even cheap. Yeah, it's even cheaper. So that original sell price doesn't matter. What matters is the actual physical book.
Right. Let's go with something a little bit different here. I'm assuming I know what you think about this one. Lily Huckleberry Collection Books 1 to 3. It's a book set.
Oh, it's a folio. Yes. I picked that up.
Easy, right? And would you also start something like this? That's more it's more modern, at least in the printing and stuff. So that would still start at a couple bucks.
That I would put on eBay.
Oh, that you put on eBay. Okay. Okay. Let's see. I've got a couple more for you here. Well, let's see. This one right here. Winchester caliber single shot rifle. It's about a book.
I would look that up. But yes, it's guns. Okay.
No barcode, but ISBN, right? So
yeah, I would look that up because it's guns.
Guns. Okay. And to a specific audience, it probably would do quite well, right?
Yes.
What about this one? East meets West, and at the bottom,
is that a coffee table book or is that a source book? Is it a book?
Yeah, it looks like a coffee. I think it's a coffee table book. Again, my knowledge of books is probably pretty limited. It's actually just my ability to look at the data that helps me be successful.
I would probably pass on it because of the condition of the dust jacket.
Dust jacket. Okay.
Yeah. Also, I'm not that interested in jewelry, so I would have probably passed on that just because I'd be like, eh.
Cool.
But that might have been a mistake. Who knows?
Yeah, I think it was. That's a pretty expensive book. But at the same time, there's no way that you can get everything. There's no way anyone can get anything, right? Everyone has specialized knowledge. Like that book, for example, I will look at it, scan it, move on. The one you showed us in the beginning, the one that's worth like $75. It just shows you how everyone has holes in their knowledge, right? It's impossible to know everything.
Yes.
And you can monetize. There's opportunity everywhere, right?
I agree.
Do you think that the WhatNot community, bookselling community, has become saturated? Because people always ask me on my YouTube channel, Joji, can I still sell books on Amazon? Like it just seems incredibly saturated. Do you think there's still opportunity there for somebody who's never done it?
Yes. It's my personal opinion. based on conversations that I've had, while there are a lot of booksellers on WhatNot, and there are specifically a lot of genre booksellers, like I can promise you, if you go on WhatNot right now, there's a specific genre you want to sell. There's probably someone live at this moment selling that exact genre. If you do not want to put in the work to build a presence, if you are not consistent, if you are not bringing stuff people want to buy, they're not going to buy from you.
Yeah.
If you don't have the fortitude to go live for the first time and maybe not sell anything, like, unfortunately, that's going to happen. If you don't have an audience, that's going to happen. If you're not willing to promote yourself, because WhatNot is a social platform that you sell.
Right.
The way I look at WhatNot is it's QVC for Gen Z.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. That's a good analogy.
Yeah, it's someone is live selling you something. So if you are not engaging enough to sell the product,
Right.
it's not going to sell. There's also like you're going in there for books specifically, be active in the community. It is a social media platform. Like, I'm talking to you now.
Right.
They're networking. View it as networking. Like, there are plenty of booksellers that are on the app that sell books that come to my show and buy books.
That's cool.
They don't necessarily, they buy the books because they want them and because they're avid readers. But then I'll go to their show and just hang out and talk. And we teach each other about books. And a lot of my book knowledge has come from just doing a show and engaging with people and learning more stuff. So if you wanted that kind of a book selling where it's more social, then WhatNot's a great platform. If you're more numbers based, Amazon is a great platform. If you want a kind of a mix between the two, eBay is a good platform. There are a lot of booksellers on WhatNot, but there's room for everybody.
Yeah. I think what we're finding is that there's probably common themes among all the people who are successful: consistent schedule, they put in the work, they're getting good inventory, they have a social media presence, right? So it's not necessarily easy, right? It does take work, but at the end of the day, it's a business, right? So if you treat it like a business, and this is what I tell everyone, you know, with online book arbitrage, is that, people will come to me and say, I'm not doing so well, but then I'll ask them, are you buying inventory every day? Are you buying good inventory? And so on. I did want to also just let everyone know that you can use Bob's link down below for WhatNot. If you want to sign up for WhatNot, give her a little kickback. You get, I think, $15 for free?
I need to give you a new link because they just recently changed their. I need to message my contact because they're changing their affiliate structuring.
Oh, okay.
And they're literally changing it tomorrow.
Really?
And there's not really a whole lot of clear communication.
Okay.
So I just got a text message from my contact. So I need to text her back and ask her what's going on because I was already signed up for the new platform through other brand activations. So I just need to be clear as to what's going on with the transition. So, but yes, I will share that link with you and you can do that. That's very sweet of you.
Yeah, link down below. I'm sure there'll be some sort of benefit to you signing up. I'm not talking about you, Bob. Like anyone who's watching this, there'll be some benefit.
Yeah, well, no, they'll automatically get a credit. Yes, they will get a credit.
Okay.
My understanding is that I also have a seller link as well. If you're wanting to sell on WhatNot, there's a link as well for that for a referral. When I started on WhatNot in 2021, it was a lot more. It was a lot harder to become a seller.
Okay.
They specifically were looking for people to grow in specific areas. Right. For me, it was women's clothing. That's how I started. And then I was like, I want to do books. And so it says, and WhatNot. And so then books became its own category because people kept selling books.
Yeah.
So there's that.
That's awesome. Now, I know that you said having a community is really helpful. At the end of the day, it says like QVC for Gen Z, which means that your skill of, obviously having a connection with your audience, but being able to present something and convince someone to buy it is really important. So for somebody who is starting out that doesn't have a successful YouTube channel like you, or doesn't have a Instagram following, I think Resell Maven put it, well, she said everyone starts at zero, but what are some of your tips for maybe starting to build your community so that, a little bit later down the road, you can have more people actively engaged in your shows and you can start selling more books?
Because WhatNot is a live selling platform, it's just like if you were to start on Twitch, first thing they're going to tell you is consistency. I will always tell people, like, be consistent. Like, if you're going to, and I know that Resale Maven just recently restarted her YouTube channel again.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And she's been having a lot of great success there.
Yep.
But on WhatNot, she has been very consistent as to when she goes live, what she's bringing to the table every single time. So before she even decided to do YouTube again, she was consistently doing her book business on WhatNot.
Right.
Like, and killing it. So, and now she's just starting to like share that on YouTube. So you can build an audience on WhatNot and then just add a cherry on top with social media. Or you can do social media first and then turn it into a business on WhatNot. There's
I
more
think
than one way to do that.
What I'm hearing you say, though, is don't let not having a social media currently prevent you from starting.
That is correct. As long as you are consistent and you're consistently bringing good stuff, I would recommend doing specific shows. So like
cool.
all kids, all YA, all like fantasy, all cookbooks. There are plenty of sellers that are very successful selling cookbooks on WhatNot as well. Do a specific niche, and it depends on what you're sourcing as well, but do that. And then if it doesn't sell the first show, it's really easy to clone items and make a new show the next week. So like you could have Cookbook Wednesday, and every Wednesday you do cookbooks, and you'll just do those cookbooks. And if it doesn't sell that Wednesday, just clone them to the next show, because completely different people are going to be there next week.
Yeah.
But if you do it at the same time every day, then they're going to be like, okay, on Wednesdays, this person is going to sell cookbooks and I might find something that I really want.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes complete sense to me. I know, so consistency is incredibly important, especially at the beginning. Would you mind giving us, like, how has, let's say, your schedule evolved over time? Like, you started 3 days a week, twice a week? Like, what does your current schedule look like? Have you found success, like certain days tend to be better? Or is it just like, it doesn't matter what day, just pick a time and just stick to it?
To me, I am telling you to do and be consistent, but I am not, because it's when I have product.
Okay.
So before, I was selling clothing every Thursday, same time. Everybody would show up. Didn't matter. Sometimes I would tell people what I had. Sometimes they didn't, but they knew on Thursdays I was there. Right now, I'm taking a step back to work on my death pile, but once a month I would do a book show.
Okay. Cool.
If I found a whole bunch of books one time, I would do an extra pop-up, and that would be successful as long as I told people I was going to do it. But that's also because I have that audience already.
Right.
When I started selling on WhatNot, it is because I just consistently went live on one day every week.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
I will say that there are a lot of people that sell on WhatNot that just put a title of like what they're selling. If you don't have an innate social media presence, at least take one picture of whatever it is and make it a good picture so they know what they're buying.
Yeah.
Because like you said, you had that Amazon listing of that specific Vonnegut book, but they wanted a different cover than what you gave them.
Exactly.
So that does matter, because we've talked about book covers multiple times at this point in this conversation, and how that's important for book collectors. They want specific covers or specific editions. So take one photo at least and describe what it is, and they can at least see the condition. And that way, if it's a future show, they can people that'll show up in the search. So on WhatNot, someone can type in Sirens of Titan by Kurt Vonnegut, and everything that's going to come up, like buy it nows, because they do have a buy it now and WhatNot as well. It's not just live auction. So all of them will come up. So if they see that you're going to start doing auction like in 2 days, and you're doing $1 starts, they might bid on it and just come to your show later. So do a listing in at least one photo. In advance.
Yeah, it's really interesting because let's say you do have a number of books, 20, 30, maybe up to 70 books, or I don't know how many books you would do with a live auction, but you don't
Between 20 and 100.
Okay, 20, 100, but you don't necessarily, and this is an important point for somebody who wants to start selling it, whatnot. It's not like you necessarily need to take a picture of every single book and list it per se like you would on eBay. It's how much of it is like, today we're doing science fiction, and here are some of the feature titles, and there's going to be a ton of other books in the genre. Just that simple in terms of a description?
If I'm going to do a video, I can get away with just doing a title. I don't have to take a picture.
Really? Okay. Wow.
If I am not doing a video, I will put in like O1, whatever it is. I do everything in alphabetical order because it makes it so I don't mess up.
Okay, cool.
But I'll organize everything by alphabetical order by author. I will put the title of the book by the author, and then I will put is it acceptable, the date it was published, and the publisher. And I can do that really quick on the computer. I don't have to take any pictures. If I get to taking a single photograph of it, I will. But sometimes that's enough because of the genres that I sell. Most people know, oh, that's the Signet or that's the DAW or that's the Dell. Like they know specifically what that is if I don't get to that photograph because they can easily look up that edition on like A-Books or somewhere else. Because again, they're collectors. They're normally trying to complete a set of something or they want something specifically to match on that shelf.
So you are actually in your description before the show, essentially telling everybody what's going to be there.
Yes.
Okay.
And I do that because people pre-bid on stuff too. Like because
what you have pre-bid? I mean,
yeah, you can do pre-bids on WhatNot. So a lot of times I've sold stuff. Person never showed up to my show.
Wow.
I never saw them. They never spoke to me. They weren't in the show at all when I was going live because you can see who's in the chat. They weren't there at all. They just saw what I had. They're like, I'm going to pay for that. They couldn't make it to my show, so they put in a maximum amount of bid that they wanted to bid to, and it sold to them. So, like, that's why I said at least put one picture and a decent description of what it is.
Okay.
And if people want it, they will bid on it. They might not even make it to your show, but you could still sell it.
Do you think there's opportunity for online book arbitrage? Meaning,
oh no, there are tons of people that specifically source on WhatNot and sell it on eBay or sell it on Amazon. Wow. There's tons of that. If you are not on WhatNot just to source, you guys are mistaken. Oh
my God. I'm not. I basically just do all Amazon to Amazon sourcing. But yeah, I mean, speaking to, resale maven Amanda just, a few days ago and then doing the same sort of game, pick or pass and seeing the game, or not the games, the books that she would pick or pass. I was like, wow, okay. That's a $50 book you just said no to. So I can imagine, if you're starting the auction for like, let's say this book at $2 and I can pick it up for $6, I mean, that's a great deal for me, right? To flip it. Mm-hmm. So does that bother you that people might do that? I made my money. I'm done. Are you done? Okay. That happens all the time. Like there are some people that it bothers. Mm-hmm. And I talked about before, like sometimes when I sell something really fast on eBay, because I will look who bought it from me. And a few times it's been someone who specializes in just selling that type of book. Like I sold a Bible for like $25. And then I was like, that sold as soon as I listed it. That's weird. Yeah. And I looked and that's all they sell is Bibles. And then I checked back 2 weeks later and they were trying to sell that same Bible for like $75. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, now I know. Now you know. But I paid nothing for it. It was free. So I was like, that's why I made my money. It's out of my house. I'm good. My feelings don't get hurt. Good. Now, again, because most of the people on the YouTube channel are not super familiar with WhatNot, could you just talk a little bit about how the shipping works, whether the buyer pays for it, you pay for it, and then also what the fee structure looks like? Okay, so the buyer pays for shipping unless you click the option where it's free. Okay. But I don't do that. You can do reduced shipping like you do on Poshmark where you can like give them a percentage off of shipping. That's like a feature to get people to try to buy because you get a little logo that says reduce shipping on your to push you in the algorithm, or free shipping and that'll push you in the algorithm. But it's buyer paid shipping unless the seller specifically selects that. There is media mail shipping on WhatNot. They have, since the book department has grown on WhatNot, they have now done specifically media mail. So just like other media mail, it's $4.63 for the first book. Okay. For the first pound. And then it is however much poundage it is. So you do have to weigh your books. Okay, cool. Yeah. So when you enter it in, not only do you have to put the description of what it is. Scale, right? Yes, you do need a scale on WhatNot because that does matter. Because it'll make a big difference if someone buys a second book from you, if it's going to be free, because they both weigh like 7 ounces versus paying an additional 75 cents. So it gets cheaper. That's getting them to buy that first book. But once they buy that first book, it's almost always they're buying more than one book from you because it's so cheap. For shipping, I do next day shipping. Wow. Okay. Super
That
exciting.
is
That's
Yes, that is what almost all of my comments are: really careful packaging, really fast shipping, because that is not something that people do on Whatnot. It's kind of a little loosey-goosey like Poshmark is, where you kind of like, if you ship it within a week, that's good.
oh, okay.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But it does show up like how fast you ship
Okay.
on your profile. And mine is less than a day, because that's when I do it, is less than a day.
It's like prime shipping. I'm just joking.
It kind of, yeah.
Quick handling time. We'll say that.
I just want it in and out of my house. So
Right.
that is why it's done. And then, because I sell on other platforms too, if I pack everything up and ship it as soon as it's done, as someone with ADHD, it's done and I don't have to deal with it anymore and I won't forget to do it. So that's why it's important to me. But you don't have to do it that fast. You can
Okay.
do it within a reasonable amount of time. Reasonable. But the faster you ship, the more likely someone's going to come back and buy from you, because that is definitely a customer service piece.
Absolutely.
I know with Amazon, it's like a reduced rate to ship it to, with Amazon FBA, it's a reduced rate to ship it to them. And then that just comes out in your fees or whatever. We're shipping it directly to the buyer. There's no
Right.
third party in there. So you have to have all of your own shipping supplies.
That's important to know. If you do WhatNot, you have to ship all your inventory. There's no FBA for WhatNot, unfortunately.
There is no, you do have to have all your own shipping supplies.
Yeah.
I do have a lot of friends and family that give me all of their empty Amazon boxes. So
Perfect.
a lot of my books go out in Amazon packaging,
That's great.
even though I don't sell on Amazon.
Yep.
But
And then what does the fee structure look like as well? It's just so people can understand if they're going to get started. Like, let's say you start an auction, let's say this size of the tie and you start at $2, it sells for 10 plus, medium mail shipping. I think it's 467. What would the fee structure, what would WhatNot be taking from you on something like that?
so WhatNot takes 8%, and then they have the payment processing of 2.9% plus 30 cents. So it's roughly around 11%
Okay.
is what they're taking from you. I mean, there are some exceptions. Like if you sell coins and money, it's a 4% commission fee instead of the 8%. And then there are also Whatnot will do special promotions where, like, big holidays, to where they'll have reduced or zero commissions. Like they recently did one for 4th of July where it was only a 4% commission if you did a show during the 4th of July, like the 4th and the 5th.
Mhm.
So, you're paying half the amount in fees that you would have normally. So, of course, that encouraged a lot of people to be on the platform. And then because the fee structure was reduced, they were also reducing their prices. So it encouraged buyers to be there as well. So they do specials like that pretty frequently. I know last year for Black Friday, they had a 0% commission. You just had to pay the payment processing. So it was only like the 2.9% plus 30 cents per
great.
transaction. Yeah. So they do stuff like that all the time. And I mean, for me, it's not a lot because,
Yeah.
eBay's 10, 11%. I don't know what it is with Amazon. It depends if you have the professional plan or not, right?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, like if you sell a book for 75, you can expect like $25 in fees, $25 in fees. Yeah, it's pretty monstrous. But at the same time, those fees go towards the automation of like never touching the book.
Yeah, no, I get that.
So it's a trade off, right? But the margins are insane for what you're doing. Picking the book up for 25 cents and you're only paying 11% of what it sells for. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, we wanted to bring Bob here because, and also to, Books Inbound Resellers Conference, because we want to show how much opportunity there is to sell books in a variety of ways. It's eBay book selling, there's Amazon book selling, there's WhatNot book selling. There's so many ways to monetize books, and books that some people would buy and do really well for them. Other people might pass on and they'll buy the books that another person wants to buy. So there's so much opportunity because there's like over 100 million books listed, at least on Amazon. So there's hundreds of, well over 100 million titles just of books out there. So there's so much opportunity to get started. Now, also want to, just let everyone know that you can use Bob's WhatNot link if you want to sign up to be a seller, or if you want to sign up to actually buy some books. I think like we said, you get a $15 credit if you're a customer. I mean, go support Bob and go buy a couple of books that you might be interested in. Maybe pick up your first sci-fi book from the 1970s. That'd be cool. And read it and let us know if you like it. Hopefully we can do a part 2 of this as well. And maybe even we could bring, Resell Maven, Amanda together. And maybe we could do like a live, show us on YouTube, do like a Q&A. I think that would be really helpful.
I would love that.
But remember, everyone, that Bob is going to be there at the Books and Beyond Resellers Conference, September 13th to 15th. Make sure you get your tickets. You can talk to her live in person and ask her all the whatnot questions you have. I'm extremely excited for her to be there. And yeah, just extremely excited for this interview to go live. So thank you so much for coming on. Any last words before we leave?
No, thank you. This has been lovely. I've learned stuff too, so I appreciate it.
Awesome. All right. So we hope to see you at the Books and Beyond Conference. And yeah, see you later, everyone. Bye-bye.